and welcome back to a new video. So today I'm going to be talking about some must-have frizz busters, and I'm going to be talking about stuff that works both great in a dry climate where I live and a humid climate. If you're new here, my name is Michelle. I'm a licensed hairstylist with over 20 years of experience, and on this channel I use those 20 years of experience to help you have healthy, happy hair. The first category of products I'm going to talk about are serums. Now, serums are really great at helping to prevent frizz, and it's largely what they're kind of made for. And one of my all-time favorite serums is the Verb Ghost Oil. I use this to scrunch out the crunch and to seal everything in at the end of my routine. And I do really like this, and I still really like this, even though I have found one recently that I've been loving maybe a little bit more, but this still makes my favorites list. I do really like it. I like that it's weightless and it does the job and helps fight frizz. Plus, like I said, scrunch out the crunch, and you can see that it is almost gone. There's very little left in here. I do need to get some more of this, but I haven't used it all up entirely because of my new recent love. And that's gonna be the Evolve Wonder Balm Magic for Curls. Now, why do I like this stuff even a little bit better than the Verb Ghost Oil? Because it's weightless. It does help to add volume, it fights frizz, but it's really versatile. It is probably more versatile than the Verb Ghost Oil because this can be used at the beginning of your routine on wet hair. You can put it in after a leave-in, but before the rest of your styling products. You can also combine this with a gel in order to help the frizz fighting ability of the gel. So just cocktail it in your hand, use mostly gel with a pump of this, and it'll help fight frizz that way. And you can put it at the end of your routine to scrunch out the crunch, to seal everything in and just finish everything off. And it works really great as a dry refresh. So when you've got some frizz the next day, you can put some of this in there. It really helps with some of those dry, parched ends that many of us living in a very dry climate will get throughout even just one day or throughout the subsequent days after washing your hair. Just because it is so dry and it does seem to kind of just suck the life and moisture right out of your hair, something like this can help revive that and really soften and condition and get rid of some of those dry, brittle ends. Another serum that is just as versatile, and I probably don't use it on here as much as I should because it is so incredibly versatile, is the Aquage Silkening Oil Treatment. It really is great at fighting frizz. It can be used on wet hair, it can be used on dry hair at the end, it can be cocktailed in with your gel. And another way that I have used it is to add just a tiny amount of gel to this. So a full pump of this, a tiny amount of gel, maybe like less than a pea-sized amount of gel, emulsify in my hands, and then put that on my hair to scrunch out the crunch. The gel helps give a little extra hold and frizz fighting ability, and this helps with frizz fighting ability. So you just kind of get a 1-2 punch there by putting both of these in there, the gel and using something like this. Now, I haven't tried that with the Evolve yet, but I'm guessing because it cocktails so well with gel and produces some great results as far as frizz fighting by cocktailing the two of those together, that using the Evolve with just a touch of gel in there as well would probably make for a good scrunch out the crunch type thing. So this is definitely another product that works great for frizz, works great for conditioning those dried, parched ends that some of us in a dry climate can get. It's overall a great quality product, and I really don't use it on here enough, and I need to start changing that because I used this for years. It's great. Another recent versatile kind of serum, it's a nourishing oil by Keratin, and this has even more uses because this can be used on the scalp to help with scalp issues. So if you suffer from a dry scalp, and if it's made worse by living in a dry climate, something like this is great. You can put it into your hair, give yourself a kind of scalp massage with that in there, and then do that before you shampoo and then wash it out. Or you can use this as a pre-poo treatment all over your strands. So you can put it in at your roots, give yourself a good scalp massage, run it through your ends, and then shampoo it all out. And I have used it like that, and I do really like it, surprisingly, because I don't usually do pre-poo treatments and I don't usually do oil treatments, but I really liked the results that I got from this. And I like the results of using this as a dry refresh. I have used this to scrunch out the crunch. I do like it for that, but I don't like it as much as I like some of the other ones. Instead, I much prefer this as a dry refresh versus a scrunch out the crunch type thing. And I just put a small amount in my hands and I go smooth it in over the top and go after some individual curls here and there to really help define them. And it just brings my curls back and helps tame the frizz. So this is another one that I've really been enjoying and using to help tame some of that frizz. Now the next category of products that I really like to use to help tame frizz is going to be gel. And for the most part, I really like gels that give me a good, strong cast, just because I find that it really helps hold everything together and fights the frizz for just a little bit longer while that cast is in there. And it also gives me better longevity throughout the following days because of that cast in the beginning. And what I really like to do with these is do my hair at night, leave the cast in, sleep with the cast on, and then scrunch out whatever cast is left over in the morning, because some of it does work out while you're sleeping, but because there is a cast in there, it does help keep your hair from getting frizzy overnight so you can get more days out of your wash day. Now, some of my strongest casts come from the following 3 gels, and that is going to be the Curly Magic Curl Stimulator from Uncle Funky's Daughter. I've used this a few times on here. It's part of one of my favorite combinations ever. If you want to see that, I did a video on my favorite combinations right up here, and it is amazing. It gives me such a great cast. It also makes my hair crazy shiny. The amount of shine I get from this is ridiculous. This is such a good gel. It doesn't rob my hair of volume, which I absolutely love. It just gives me a great cast, great shine, and helps to tame the frizz. The next gel that gives me a really good cast that I really love for helping to tame the frizz and not lose any volume is going to be the Trelux High Definition Gel. This gel has fast become one of my absolute all-time favorite gels. I love the cast that it gives me. I love how nice and soft my hair is whenever I scrunch the crunch out. And I use this with usually the other Trelux stylers. I love that combination altogether. That is also part of my favorite combinations video, which I believe I put a card up here already. And I love the soft, bouncy, fluffy curls with loads of volume that I get from all 3 stylers. And they stay frizz free for a really long time, and part of it is because of the holding power of this gel. And it's such a great cast that it really works well for what I was just talking about with sleeping with the cast in and then scrunching it out in the morning. Every time I use it, I do get great results the next day, and I get some really good longevity and frizz control for multiple days. The next gel that gives me a crazy strong cast is going to be the Kinky Curly Curling Custard. And this is a product that I just don't use enough on my channel. I did when I first started my channel, but then because lots and lots of products and trying new things all the time, I just kind of stepped away from it or forgot about it. It got shoved to the back of my shelf, and I hadn't brought it out until more recently. And this is another full tub of it because I used my other one all up. And this is another one that I like to really sleep with the cast in it and then scrunch it out in the morning. That really helps to break that really strong cast by sleeping on it. And then in the morning, I'm just left with nice, soft, almost frizz-free curls. I can't really say frizz-free because frizz is part of the territory. If it is frizz-free, it's only frizz-free for a few minutes. And then as soon as I start moving my head all around, I'm gonna develop frizz or go out in the wind or whatever. Frizz is gonna happen. But this definitely helps reduce it significantly. And it does so for a number of days. Just an all-around really great gel with a cast, with a lot of hold. It's wonderful. The next category of products is not really a serum, not really a gel, kind of a liquid styler, or maybe a mix of all 3. I don't really know. They're kind of weird, but they're really awesome. They help with the frizz. They don't rob your hair of volume, and in the case of this one right here, the Trelux Reflex Serum, it actually adds to the volume. And that is why I really like combining all of the 3 Trelux stylers together. I love the cream. It doesn't weigh your hair down. This seems to add volume. The gel is great for hold and frizz fighting, and this seems to help with frizz fighting. It does work great as a dry refresh as well. However, it doesn't work as well as a dry refresh, on me anyway, as this next one, the Curl Keeper Original Liquid. Oh look, I kind of match the label of this. Okay, sidetracked. This is another one that I've tried recently, and I did a review video right up here, but I have tried it with other products. It plays nice with other products. It really does help with the frizz. You really can't use too much of this. Like, you can go crazy with it. It is so good, and it doesn't weigh your hair down. It doesn't leave it feeling producty. Like I said, it helps with the frizz, and that's pretty much what its main purpose is. The Reflex Serum, this one, does seem to have a little bit of hold to it. However, it's not enough hold for me, and I do like combining it with the gel, but for some people who prefer a much softer hold, this might be more your style or more your thing. So it does have hold for you, and it is really great at controlling frizz, and it works great as a dry refresh as well. But this one, like I said, is better at a dry refresh because it's kind of more like just water, but better, because it really almost instantaneously smooths the frizz down. And I did do a demonstration of a dry refresh when I did the review video on this at the end of it, because I showed you my day 2 and day 3 results, and then I used this as a dry refresh on my day 3 results, and it instantly smoothed my hair down, and all I did was just basically smear it over the top of my hair. And I went in and kind of defined a few curls with it, but even without going in and defining a few curls with it, I could have just smoothed it on, walked out the door, and been good to go because of how well this works to tame the frizz. And like I said, this plays nice with others. I've tried it with a lot of other things, and I definitely will be trying it with more combinations coming up. It's just all around really good. Doesn't make your hair feel really dry. If you're in a dry climate and you need loads and loads of moisture for those dry ends, I do feel like this might be the better option for you over this. However, this isn't gonna make your hair dry either. I just feel like this gives you a little bit more to help with some of those parched dry ends that you can get when you live in a dry climate. And now, the next category of products is actually going to be gels that are made specifically for humidity, or heat and humidity. And they're actually made by the same company. They're just at very different price points. And it's going to be WeDod Climate Control Heat and Humidity Gel. I prefer the Stronghold gel because I really like Stronghold. I really like this gel. It does give me a little bit of a cast, but not anywhere near some of the ones that I mentioned already. But it does have some great frizz fighting abilities in this bottle right here due to whatever magical ingredients that they use to help control it. And even though I don't live in a humid climate, I do find that this really helps control frizz here in my more dry climate. And I don't feel like it actually sucks any moisture out of my hair. It does have glycerin, and glycerin has a bad rap for taking the moisture out of your hair if you live in a dry area, or if there's not a lot of humidity in there, that it's just gonna suck it all out. I find that it definitely does not do that. Glycerin is one of those weird things that it can cause problems, but it depends on the formulation it's in. Some people really like this, and this works really well for them, and other people find that this does not work very well for them at all. I am one of those people who are in the yes, I absolutely love it category. I find that it works really well for me in both humidity and in the dry climate. It's mostly dry here, but occasionally we do get humidity, so I have put this to the test in humidity when we get it, and it performs beautifully. It does not cause any more frizz because of the glycerin. It's just such an amazing product, and definitely one that I will probably always have on hand. So let's compare that then to the lower price point one, the Twist by WeDod Weather Up Gel. And when I did my review on this, which is in a video right here if you'd want to check it out, it was rainy and humid, so I was able to test out how well it performed in humidity, and it worked really well. It handled the frizz like a champ. I got 3 days out of it. It had a really great hold, so really great longevity, and it does give me a bit of a cast. and I can't really remember which one of these gives me more of a cast. I do know that neither one of them gives me as strong of a cast as some of the other ones that I previously mentioned, which is why I didn't include them in that category. I decided to put them in a category all their own just because they are in fact formulated for weather conditions. So that is why they are in this category. There are other products and other brands that kind of do that too. There are hairsprays that block humidity. I don't have any of those. I should probably get them and try them out, but it's not really a good test of it here because, as I've said probably 20 million times in this video, I do live in a dry climate. It doesn't get humid here often enough for me to need a humidity blocking hairspray. The Aquage working spray that I use works just fine, especially in conjunction with some of these other products. So I don't have a lot of those to show you, but if that is something that sounds interesting to you, I definitely recommend picking those up because a lot of them are really, really great at doing exactly what it says, which is to block the humidity. But getting back to these two gels here, I really would have a hard time picking a favorite between the two of them. I would actually have to see them in a side-by-side comparison in order for me to make that judgment call and probably put it through the test with the humidity and whatever. Let me know if that's a video that you'd actually like to see. Would you like to see, keep all the other products exactly the same, but then see what this on one side and this on the other side, just to see what it looks like? I do have to say, from what I remember, I think this one gives me more volume than this one. And that can sometimes happen with some of these humidity type products. The ingredients that they use to help with the humidity can also rob you of volume. Not always. We don't want to bank on that one, but sometimes they do. So it's just a matter of finding ones that just work really well for you, or perhaps a good combination of products. So if this is something that might rob your hair of volume, and I'm not saying that it does, but it doesn't give as much volume as this does. But if one kind of robs you of volume, maybe mix it with some other things that give you lots of volume and kind of help counteract some of that, so you can still get some of the humidity blocking goodness that is in here without having to forego the volume that you want. But these are two gels that I definitely would recommend trying out. They're both really great, and I don't know that I could pick a favorite because they're both really good in their own ways. Last but not least are two products that are fairly new to me, but have so completely blown me away that I absolutely had to include them in this video. And that is going to be the newest members of the climate control product line of Humid. These are amazing. So if you've watched any of my videos, I have said probably more times than any of you have ever cared to hear that I do not like refreshing my hair. I prefer instead to spend all of my time and energy and finding products that work really well for giving me a great wash day that lasts, that I don't have to fuss with on day 2 or day 3 or whatever. I just don't want to have to do that. But now I think I'll probably be using both of these a lot more often. That is actually what these were designed for. And I have tried some of Humid's refreshing sprays, and I can't say that I liked them anywhere near as much as I like these. In fact, I don't even have them anymore, which should tell you something. I just didn't like them all that much, but these are amazing. So this one they say is for fine to medium hair, and then they say this one is for medium to thick hair. And I'm sorry, Humid, but I'm gonna have to contradict you a little bit on that one, because I use this one on my hair and I have coarse, high density hair, and it worked great. And I could actually see this working really well for fine haired people under certain conditions. So let's talk about that. First, let's talk about what the biggest difference that I see between the two of these. One, the first ingredient in here is water. And then there is no water in this one at all. It is basically a solid balm that once you get a scoop of it out of there and you warm it up in between your fingers, it turns to kind of like an oil or an oily serum. It's really great. It's not overly oily and it's not too thick, or I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I really like that. So that is one of the biggest difference that I see between these two products, is the one that has water as the first ingredient and one that has no water whatsoever and is basically a solid. Now, why does that matter? Well, because this one with the water in it is going to be lighter weight, which is why they claim that it works really well for fine to medium hair, because it's not going to weigh the hair down. And I definitely agree with that, but it also works really well for coarse hair. And the water in there really helps to reform some of your curls, because when your hair gets wet, it tries to revert back to its original state. So that's what it'll do when you put this on there. And that's what it does with the other products that I mentioned too, the Reflex Serum and the Curl Keeper, that there is enough water in there that your curls will try to revert back to their natural state. But instead of doing so while getting frizzy, which is what happens when you put just water on your hair and let it dry, is it'll start to frizz. This won't cause it to frizz. Those other products won't cause it to frizz because there are other ingredients in there besides just the water that will help to keep the frizz tamed down. And this is another one where I literally just smoothed it right over my hair and it got rid of all of the frizz, and my curls started to pop up and curl back up. And then some of my lazier curls, I did have to go in and put a little bit more of this on my fingers and just target some of those and finger coil them to go back to kind of just encourage them to go back to where they were. So that is how you would use this. And then with this one, I didn't smooth this all over my hair, and I probably wouldn't. I used this for some really dry, parched looking ends. So those of us who live in a dry climate who get those really problematic ends here and there, this is what I would definitely recommend. And I would recommend it for anyone, fine hair or coarse hair, it doesn't matter. If you live in a dry climate, you wind up with dry, parched ends, or even if you live in a humid climate and you wind up with that, put these on it. Or your ends tend to get really, really frizzy because they just want to soak up all the moisture in the air and go crazy. Put this on it and that'll help create a barrier. Another way that fine-haired curlies can use this as well is if your hair happens to be damaged. Just because this is going to create more of a barrier between your damaged hair and the ambient humidity. So that'll help keep your hair from like trying to grab all of that and going frizzy and crazy and nuts. And it'll also help give your hair a little bit more smoothness and conditioning and softness, just like the fine-haired curlies that live in dry climates that deal with parched ends. It'll do the same thing for your damaged hair. It'll soften and condition. Another thing this is really good for, and that I've used it for, is to kind of smooth back the wild hairs that you get when you pull your hair up and you wind up with like all of these little, because they're just little baby hairs that are just sticking all out and going kind of nuts. You just put some of this into your fingers and smooth some of that over, and that'll help tame some of those. And then if you have some really troublesome spots all around your head, you can use this as well. Just kind of put a little bit in your fingers and finger coil it. These are both just such really, really great products, and I'm so glad that they came out with them and that I grabbed them, because this is probably going forward going to be what I use to refresh my hair. I might actually refresh my hair now because I have products that make it really easy. I have these, I have the Reflex Serum, I have the Curl Keeper. What more do I need? Plus I have the Evolve Wonder Balm. Between all these, it's like I've got it made. Like, my hair is going to be set for refreshing. I will become a refresh convert because of these products that I can use on my dry hair. Now, let me know if you would like me to put together a video where I demonstrate the uses of these. I think that could probably be a pretty decent video. So just let me know if you'd be curious about that, or if you want to see me do that, and I will go ahead and put together that video for you. So that brings us to the end of my must-have summer frizz busters. And now that we're here, I really do need to say that probably the biggest thing to help with the frizz is to learn to accept the frizz. A lot of these things will tame the frizz, will help keep it under control and make it look a little bit better, but better is relative. Frizz is a part of our hair. It's just going to be there. It's always going to happen. Having expectations of completely frizz-free hair is not very realistic. If you have wavy, curly, or coily hair, there will be frizz somewhere, somehow, unless you stay still like a statue and do absolutely nothing. once you have created your perfectly frizz-free hair that might take hours and dozens of products to create. So probably the best frizz buster there is to learn to accept and embrace the frizz that just naturally comes along with your hair. Fight it to a certain extent, sure, but not to the point where your life basically revolves around it. And that's me being done with the self-acceptance speech. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.